and welcome to another episode of Momo Makes. I'm your girl Momo. I do DIYs, upcycles, and sewing projects. Today I am making a very special summer dress using a McCall's pattern M8030, which I'm going to hack. This dress is very special because the material that I'm using for this dress is actually a sari a friend brought me from Kerala, India. As you know, I work in tech, and for a number of years my development team was based out of Kerala. Over the years I've worked alongside some amazing people from Kerala, and I know a little bit about their culture, and I love their food. They're so generous, so kind, and I've made lifelong friendships with them. Kerala is a state in India located at the bottom tip of the continent. Also known as God's own country, Kerala has a tropical monsoon climate and 360 miles of coastline. Due to its abundant resources, this region has been inhabited since the Neolithic era. With its rich history and culture, Kerala is home to many traditional festivals around the year. Onam marks the first month of the Malayalam calendar and has 10 days of festivities including rituals, prayers, cultural programs, boat races, and dance performances. The beautiful women of Kerala create floral mandalas at the entrances of their homes to welcome abundance into their lives. They also wear a very specific, very traditional kind of sari for this festival, and that's the sari I'm going to be using in this project. It's called a Setmundu, and it's made in a small town called Ramapur. It's made with simple unbleached cotton. It's 100% hand woven on a hand loom, which is very traditional. It has a gold border. The weavers in this community use primitive throw shuttle pit looms to weave fine unbleached cotton cloth and fine zari thread. Cotton yarn is conditioned with rice flour, and the gold zari thread is first woven onto these large spindles and then meticulously pulled into the loom warps. Each sari can take up to 3 days to weave. It's a labor of love, and it's my absolute pleasure and privilege to be able to work with this beautiful heirloom textile. Coming to the McCall pattern, let's take a look at the pattern modifications I have planned. I am making the view B in this pattern. I'm not going to make the button front lapel as shown in the pattern. I'm going to close up the front, and I'm going to make a very simple, very clean V neckline opening and a mandarin collar because I really love the mandarin collar. The waistline is going to be taken in a little bit, so I'm going to make a cut here, and I'm going to take in the waistline, and that is going to give me an hourglass shape. I'm going to modify the bottom hem as well. I am not making a shirt dress. I'm going to close up the sides, and I'm going to add a bottom ruffle to make it look like a summer tiered dress. The border of the sari is magnificent, so I'm gonna add the border on the yoke in the front and right above the bottom ruffle as well. Alright, so we're all set. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications, and let's get started. Alright, let's start with the cutting. I separated out the borders so I can use the white cotton piece of the fabric of the sari to make the body of the dress, and I'm going to trace the pattern pieces onto this fabric. So I have a confession to make. I think there's something wrong with me. I have an absolute mortal fear of cutting out the pattern itself. I always trace it out on a piece of paper or onto the fabric. I don't really cut the paper. Do you also do that? Let me know in the comments below. So here I am cutting out the front bodice pieces left and right, and here I'm cutting out the back piece. Remember that the back is one solid piece. Next, I'm cutting out 4 pieces for the pockets and 2 yoke pieces for the front because it's separated. The neckline is going to go through it, but the back piece of the yoke is going to be one solid piece. I also cut out 2 pieces for the neckband for the Mandarin collar because it's of course double-sided. Front band to close and make the neckline. Okay, so let's take a look at the pieces that we've cut. We have 2 front bodice pieces, the left and the right, 2 corresponding yoke pieces, left yoke and right yoke for the front, 1 back bodice piece and 1 back yoke. And then we have 2 pieces for the Mandarin collar, 4 pockets and 2 sleeve bands. And then I have 1 strip that I'm going to use to finish the neckline. For the accent, I have the Sari border. I didn't actually measure this, but this is roughly the size of the front yoke. I also want the circle pattern to be identical on both sides, so I just took a little longer piece than I needed. Let's start constructing the dress. First step is to make the gathers in the back and the front bodice pieces. These are marked on the pattern, so I just transferred the markings. Bodice piece is wider than the yoke piece because once you adjust the gathers to match up the size of the yoke piece and the bodice piece. So very simple method. Put 1 stitch line on the bodice piece and pull to make the gathers in the middle. Next, I'm going to work on the border on the yoke. I'm going to apply the border right on the yoke piece, leave the bottom edge raw because it's going to go into the seam allowance. For the top, I'm going to fold it in and do top stitching. Then I'm also adding a couple of lines just to make sure that the border is completely flush and it holds its shape. Next, I'm going to pin the yoke piece and the bodice piece together and join them. I'm not adding a border piece on the back, which I now realize I probably should have because I had the border piece fabric, but I just felt like it was getting a little too much, because the border is so beautiful. It probably didn't need to be that fussy and it didn't need to be in the back as well. Let me know in the comments below, do you think I should have put the border in the back as well as the front of the yoke? Next, to make the structure of the dress, I'm going to join the front and the back pieces together at the shoulder seam, flip it over and then top stitch it for a nice neat finish. Next, I'm going to add the gold border at the bottom of the dress before I add the flounce and close up the sides. The gold strip will go around the dress, so I added this to the front panels as well as the back of the dress. So this is one way of doing it. Another way you could have done it was to close the sides first and then put the hemband on, but I did it this way. Before I close the sides of the dress, I'm adding the pockets, which is pretty standard for any dress. First, the pocket pieces are going to be joined to the side of the dress at the marked positions on the pattern. Then I will fold them outwards and start from the armhole going down, then around the pocket, coming back, and then continuing until the dress is closed on the side. Then I will repeat the same thing on the other side and close the dress on both sides. Next, I'm going to finish the sleeve band. To balance out the gold, I added the gold strip to connect the front and back of the yoke. Anyway, to make the sleeve, I will first close the band in a loop. Then I'm going to fold it in the middle and iron it nice and flat. I'm going to match the seam of the loop with the seam of the sleeve and then pin them both and I'm going to sew them together. Then I'm going to flip it over and top stitch it for a nice and neat finish. Moving on to the bottom flounce, I took a white strip of fabric 12 inches high and 1.5 times the size of the bottom opening of the dress. To make the gathers, I'm going to put a stitch around the opening of the flounce, and I'm going to pull the thread to make the gathers, which are going to match up to the size of the bottom hem. Then I'm going to pin the two pieces together, and I'm going to join them, flip them over, iron, and top stitch for a neat finish. Then I put the dress on and decided to make the hem, which I later adjusted to a folded hem because it was still too long for my body. Finally, it's time to finish the neckline. Before I add the mandarin collar, I'm first going to finish the front lapel. For this, I joined the strip to the front opening side and top stitch the opening for a clean finish. As a final step, I'm going to join the two pieces of the collar. I will cut notches around the curved parts and then turn the collar inside out. I'm going to match up the collar to the neck opening, pin it in place, and join them together. Then I'm going to turn the collar over and overlap the edge on the sewn seam and top stitch for a neat finish. And just like that, my dress is now complete. If you like this video and you like the story of the special sari from Kerala, please give this video a thumbs up and share with your friends. As always, I look forward to your feedback in the comments below. Here's the reveal. I have a feeling you're going to like this one next. Do check it out. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support. I'll see you in the next one.